So welcome everyone, Friday the 6th of August from sunny Portsmouth for myself. So this is the latest Skore community user drop-in session. Today we're talking about time. So we're looking at how you can represent time on a process, same format as always. So we'll have 15-20 minutes where I'm showing you some stuff, get the thought juices flowing, and then we'll definitely have time for questions about this topic, and then we can pick up any other questions that anyone or the team of the group might have. So just a very light structure today, but so in this session, I'm going to start off by showing some real, we're starting with the basics and we're moving up basically. So we'll look at how we show time against the actual process. So we'll look at things like white boxes and the like. Then we'll look at how you can actually overlay the process or on the canvas, actually represent time elements against the canvas, and then we'll look at actually capturing time elements against activities, which I know some of you will have had a play with. So there's a lot to cover in a short time, as always. So it's going to be introducing some concepts, and then we can have a discussion at the end. Okay. So little agenda session, little agenda process map is quite good for me to signpost where I need to go. So we've got a simple recruitment process. Yeah. So quite often, what the simplest time elements that people have, and this might come out in a workshop, or it might come out when you're doing your post analysis, is when you're looking at a process and someone says they repeat this process monthly, or it's at the beginning of the day. Those sorts of time elements are really powerful to put on the process if you're new to a process, to be able to reread and see what's going on. So this, by far, the simplest and most common way people use Skore in this way is to drag on a white box and have a multiple trigger. So if we were to look at advertising the position, we could say before 10 a.m. Yeah, that is to me is a trigger to say, as I read this activity box, when the recruitment assistant is advertising the position, they need to post it before 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Yeah, simple stuff, but again, hugely powerful. The other way people will use white boxes is to maybe, again, this where's a good one, review requirements and create recruitment plans. So the account manager might be doing that on a weekly basis. Again, it's just a very simple way of showing a single time element, one type of time element against a process. Okay. The other very common, again, very simple way is to use a note box and/or an icon. So if I click on icons, hopefully people have found icons and started to use these against their processes. But if I say I search for time, for example, again, most companies will have some sort of standard that they define. But if I dragged out a calendar, yeah, we could icon. We could say, last week of every month. I'm not sure if this is going to be the most optimized recruitment process for this demonstration, but you get the idea. And then you can say, so it's giving an element of that, or another common one, maybe they want to use a clock. Again, you've got a couple of clocks to choose for here. Process inquiries. What would be quite common is people would say within 2 days of application. Yeah. So again, you're putting some sort of time boundary, extra visualization against the process. And again, I'm just introducing it here, but some people can get quite complex with this and add in different colors, meaning different things. And like, as always, our advice is to use these elements, but use them sparingly. Keep it as simple as possible. So keep that there. Brilliant. Okay, so this is how we're sort of visually representing it on a process. The second point I had was about changing the layout of a process, or changing the actual what you're putting the process on, so that the canvas in our minds. So if I was just to let's delete some of these just to tidy it up slightly. Our standard, or how we kind of recommend is a snake approach. Obviously, people have lots of different ways of doing that. So one of the easiest ways to represent change is to change the canvas in the background. And a way of doing that is you can drag on a white box, a note box, sorry, and you might give that a title to say days 1 to 2, and we can update the process accordingly like that. Send that to back by pressing B or the star. Change the color, and you're kind of representing a day. Maybe tidy it up slightly, but you're kind of putting that on there. And then what a lot of people will do is then they'll change the flow. They might make it, rather than snaking left to right, it says I'm not too much, and then you can start to say, right, days 1 to 2 we do that, days 3 to 5 we do something else, and you might change the color. Again, I'm not going to worry too much around what we do here, but you're changing the background that the process is on to depict some element of time. Okay, all right. So again, that's quite basic. You can make that look quite smart. It's making your process there. One of the templates we've got in our library, so I'm just going back to my signpost agenda. So I'm not sure if anyone would have played around with the timeline view, but again, quite common use of depicting time. I'm going to ask if people have seen this in the interest of time at the moment. But this is just pulled out from our template library. And hopefully people have found that. But this is a great way, especially for a project, for example. So if you were mapping out an implementation project, so I've just put some simple activities here. And again, this is an introduction to the concept, not necessarily going to do it in any detail here. There's a couple of things here. So this is a background. It's all locked objects. You can update it, obviously. I'm not going to go and do that now. But you can see we can start to pick in our project, pick in our activities here. So we can say we're at, between April and May, we're going to be initiating the project. That's probably not going to be as long as that. So what we can do, if we highlight our activities, hit the style button, and allow resize. So a few things here. So if we allow a resize of activity boxes, we can say we initiate the project, and then after that, we're going to spend 2 months capturing. We're going to spend another 2 months or 3 months selecting the project. We're going to implement the system. Again, you don't have to lay it out in this way. And then you can see how I'm doing there. I'm just laying it out, and you might have rolling out new processes might start before the end. Again, it might take a little while, and we close off the project here. Again, this is just an example of how you can use the tool. You might close it out there, and you can do a couple of things here. You can bring in icons here. So we've got a star here. A lot of people bring in a star to say we've got a key milestone here. Yeah. So again, I'm just messing around just to show you what that might be. Still use inputs and outputs. So you can, there's two ways of doing this. You can either just use the lines to connect it together, or what is definitely a lot better is to say what is it that comes out of this part of the process that feeds into the selecting technologies. In this way, you might change your flow slightly. So we've got a high level requirements document. So it starts to highlight. We've got time, we've got the activities, we've also then got the handovers between those activities, and we can also start to represent when we overlap or the like. Okay, so and then again, an awfully powerful bit is being able to then drill down into that detail. And when you drill down into that detail, you're back into the world of process, unless you then bring in another timeline. But actually, what's the we have an input, yeah, and then we have an output even. Away we go. So you get that that project view with a timeline, but you've got all the details in your process view. One example of how people use Skore to represent time, and then put the detail views underneath. Excellent. Appreciate we're skipping over the top of some of these big topics, but hopefully it's getting the creative juices flowing. I'll come back to my process here. So capturing time against the activities. So if we click on clean, hopefully version of the process I was messing around with earlier. So custom fields and quantify, for those that might not have seen it or looked at it, is the more advanced ways of capturing time in Skore. And I appreciate it's a big topic. I appreciate we're kind of picking out a couple of examples in each of these areas. But if I was to, I could show you a couple of ways people use custom fields to put out elements of time. So if I come to the attachments, custom fields, we can create a custom field specifically for time. And in this, I would include things like value add, non-value add. So that's, to me, that's a depiction of what people might be spending time on otherwise. Or we can start to actually just say, put time. Yeah, how long does an activity take? Yeah, so you might say this is a value add, and we spend 4 minutes on that. Yeah, again, as long as you're doing that. We can come to the next one to say we've got a time, again, value add, and we're spending 10. So it's a way of adding that information in without going to the full power of the quantify. So when you start to look at the analytics, we've got a time, we can say we've got a value add of 2, and we can start to see where the time is being spent. That's a very simple way, just putting how long an activity, in this example, how long an activity is taking, and in this case, being able to separate value add, non-value add, more essential non-value adds. The last and arguably the most powerful way, and when I say powerful, it's because it opens up all the analytics, is the quantify module. So I appreciate lots of you will have seen this before, but in essence, what it's allowing you to do is to add in, again, if I just go to edit mode, simple quantification data against your end-to-end process flow. So we can see we've got 2 hours here, a volume of 1, and there's no wait time or additional costs. Brilliant. If I was to click through, you can see we've got 4 minutes, volume costs, advertising the position. We start to get some direct costs in here. Still takes 30 minutes. If I click over to conducting the interviews, we've got duration, so 2 hours per interview. And for this one recruit, we estimate 7 interviews. So again, it's not rocket science. It shouldn't be rocket science. You should be able to sit down with an SME and put something in very, very quickly. Yeah, we're not looking for the finite level of detail on this. If I then go to the role manager and come to something like the account manager, you can see we've got the ability here. If I just edit role details, let's see it. I'll show you. We can put the full hourly cost of employees, and if we know it, the FTEs that are available for this end-to-end process. So again, simple information, and it's about putting something in which you can then challenge and improve. So when we then come to the quantify, I'm pretty sure we've done drop-in sessions, or this is a complete topic on its own. So I'm introducing this to the group this morning. We can start to mess around. So we can start to say, if we were to recruit 5 or go through this process 5 iterations a week, show me the results on a monthly basis, for example, it's then showing me the duration. Yeah, so the total lead time is 4 weeks. Yeah, that we're spending in this month in terms of the amount of time that we're spending on here, and then it breaks it down. Interesting, starts to come into the costs. So we're taking time and transferring that into direct and role costs. So you can start to see per month for 5 recruits, we're spending £60,000. That seems excessive, but this is a demo process and we're just messing around with some data. And again, even if it does seem excessive, you can start to look and see, well, where are it's our advertising costs. Yeah. So the biggest bang for buck in this process is to go and look at our advertising costs, for example. Then it's the interview process. Should we be doing 7? Should that be 5? Should it be an hour? Yeah, you can start to play around, run some scenarios, and see what it's doing. I know I'm in the cost tabs, but you'd be looking at the same in terms of the duration. Where are our biggest bottlenecks in terms of time what are the roles that spend the most time on this process. And then we can also start to look at what I love the most is the FTE analysis. And when we look at time, this is how long an end-to-end process takes. How many could we do with the people we have? That's quite a good question. So you can start to see here, actually, if we're doing 5 recruits, we're fine. We've got plenty of recruitment assistant and account manager time left. If we were to up this to 6, we're still fine. If we're up it to 7, we start to then get a bottleneck in terms of the available time a particular role has available to do those activities. So then you can start to answer those sorts of questions. Do we need to change the activities they're doing? Do we need to cross-train? Do we need to split out into different roles? All those sorts of great questions that you want to be asking to improve a process. So I come back to my process here. So we've had a quick look at how you can add white boxes, icons to pick those sorts of time elements, time constraints, your recurring activities. We've looked at how the canvas can be used. So simply by putting some boxes on there, or you could maybe something I didn't show you, start to put some lines in there to mark boundaries in time. And then we looked at some more, and the timeline view in there. Really great for engaging people, giving that real visualization on what is going on when. And then we've looked at the more kind of analytics side of things, so where we can add simple custom fields, or we can start to then mess around with the quantify module.